are you? Who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Well, hi there. Welcome to the show. I'm Jessica Disbrow, licensed social worker and registered psychotherapist in the state of Colorado. I'm also the founder and primary therapist of Higher Consciousness Healing. We are a small private practice in Lakewood, Colorado that offers empowering and holistic psychotherapy services to youth and adults. If you'd like more information about our practice, please visit us on the web at www.higherconsciousnesshealing.org. All right, you're watching our live video blog where we talk about different mental health topics from a spiritual and scientific perspective. So welcome. We air this show every Saturday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So try and catch us live. Today is a pre-recorded show because I'm on vacation, but you can normally catch us live then, and this show was recorded live, just not on my business page. All right, let's get started. This is a topic that's really fascinated me my whole life. Who am I really? Like really? Because as a depressed teenager, I was not a very happy person, and I really thought deeply about who I was. And so I think that this story really starts there, because how we define ourselves kind of is the foundation of how we live our lives. And when we can't really define ourselves in a way that feels good, in a way that feels like the right answer, it's kind of hard to overlook it. So let's take a look at how we define ourselves traditionally. The main areas of our identity are usually based around the culture that we grew up in, the belief systems that we have, and our personal preferences. So across the board, that's kind of the meat of what most people would define themselves as, probably falling into one of those categories. And now we're wired to go with the herd. We really are. We're pretty social creatures, and it's been demonstrated in research studies that, if we're with a group of people and they make a joke and everybody's laughing and you don't really get the joke, you'll probably just laugh along because it feels polite, and that's just kind of what we do as humans. It's okay. So another thing we do as humans is we compare ourselves to other people. And really what I think is happening is we're looking for either the same or different. Are you similar to me? Are you different from me? And I really think this goes back to our evolution and bonding and breeding, and those either category of same or different comes in handy when you're talking about genetics. So depending on what you're looking for, it's there. However, this is a pretty shallow version of identity when you really think about it. Because what is our culture and belief system and our preferences, maybe based on our DNA, these are all seemingly things that we're born into. And that, if you've watched other episodes of my show, we kind of realize that our brain is being programmed by our environment and our experiences. And then we go through the world and we kind of use that as a foundation to operate from, and we react to things pretty unconsciously until we, gain a higher awareness. So that doesn't really sit right with me, because what I'm basically saying is, with that argument, it's saying I am my environment and my experiences. And no, that just doesn't feel right at all. So let's look at the brain. It's really fascinating, because I think it gives us some answers. And for this episode, I'm going to be referencing this wonderful book here. I think it might end up being backwards for you all, but that's the cover anyway. It's called Buddha's Brain, The Practical Neuroscience of Happiness, Love, and Wisdom by Rick Hanson, Ph.D., with Richard Mendez, MD. So, in that lovely book, in the last chapter, they talk about the brain and our identity. So what's really happening, and is our identity located in our brain somewhere? Because that would be a really clear and easy answer. Identity's here, we got it. However, what they've discovered is there's no identity center. There's not an area of your brain that's in control of that. What's actually happening is that it's a network all throughout your brain and body that kind of makes up who you think you are. And they broke it down for us. It's really great. It basically comes down to 4 different selves. There's the reflective self, which is the self that says, I am solving a problem, for an example. And that's located in the prefrontal cortex, and along with some other network that has a really long name and not the point of the show. If you want to know more about the biology, definitely read the book. This is just to give you a brief over. So we have that reflective self. Then we have the emotional self, the self that says, I am upset. And that's, again, the prefrontal cortex. There's another network involved, and then our more reptilian evolved networks and our, what I like to call the lower consciousness area, which is the hippocampus and the amygdala. And amygdala is especially, it's the fear response. So that's, I'm upset, my emotional self. And then we have the autobiographical self, which is actually a combination of the reflective self and the emotional self, but we're now adding the concept of past and future. And this is what most people call I. Makes sense, right? Well, really, that I is also the same definition as the term ego that I've been using in the show. Because really, we're going back to it being a really shallow definition of ourselves. Again, with the programming of our brain and experiences, it's not all there is. And really what the autobiographical self is it's the I think I am. It's not actually the real I. Get it? We can't think ourselves into being. We can think a lot about ourselves, and we can have, unfortunately, many delusions about who we are because that's what we think about ourselves. But what, in actuality, ourselves is something deeper. I'll go into that in a minute, though. All right, the 4th self that they define is the core self, and this is the nonverbal sense of I. It has no past, no future, and it's located in the subcortical and brainstem. So again, that core part of the brain, nonverbal part of the brain. There's a really great quote in this book that I think helps sum it up. It reads, "The self has no inherent, unconditional, absolute existence apart from the network it arises from, in, and as." That still sounds a lot like I am my environment and my experiences, right? Because even though they define the core self, they don't do the best job. I went through and reread it a few times, and I do think we have to acknowledge that we do have this core self that's undefinable, that we all kind of know is there, but it's kind of hard to find in the brain. Because a brain, part of our brain stem, that's a pretty important part. So, who are you? Really? We're a combination of mind, body, and spirit. And when we look at our biology and we're looking for our identity there, and we're saying, well, it must be here somewhere, where is it? Is it in this area of the brain? Well, what if we turn off this area of the brain, and how would it affect these other areas? research. Very fascinating. But really, it's undefinable. And they go on to say that in the book, you are you regardless of how you define yourself or what you think about yourself. And that's for me personally. I absolutely believe that, and I think it's a really liberating viewpoint. So we're constantly changing. We're constantly in a state of flux. Even our biology is. And we really are consciousness expanding. We're spirit, soul, learning and growing. And what we believed a few years ago is very different from what we believe now. And if it's the same, that's okay. However, when we're shifting and fluxing and feeling all these different things and we're getting all these different perspectives and we're like so confused about what is going on and what do I believe and who can I trust and what is this world anyway? You know, we really have to realize that everyone has a different perspective. And when we base our identity from other people's perspectives, that's going to be skewed because they're seeing us through their perspective. And in a way, that makes it really complicated to really see and understand who we are. And then add our baggage and trauma and pain on top of that, it's a big mess. And so what is the answer? Because I haven't really answered it yet. You know, who are we? Well, we're this undefinable thing. Well, how can we be ourselves, right? Because that's really what we want to know. Because we all want to be ourselves, and it's really liberating. Trust me. So instead of trying to define ourselves, we need to focus on being ourselves. And it's like, well, how do I be myself? That undefinable thing in every moment. It comes back to learning to be in the present moment with everything that is exactly as it is. And I covered this in episode 2, why being present is the most important thing. And it is one of my earlier episodes, so please be kind. I'm a little more shaky. But I really recommend that you watch it. And if you're interested in what I'm saying about really taking advantage of the present moment, because that's where we're really ourselves, and really recommend this book, also backwards, called The Power of Now by Eckhartt Tolle. Now, it's intense for some people, so take a look at it online, see how you feel, that kind of thing. Because really what it comes down to, and I'm going to comment about my addiction episode, we can be addicted to anything that brings us away from the present moment. A compulsive need to avoid the present moment with different substances, people, things, etc. Right? And the reason why we don't want to be in the present moment is because most of us are pretty traumatized and in pain, and this world is a really hard place. However, when we work through our baggage and we use those mindfulness techniques, I cannot say more about that. It's amazing what mindfulness can do. It's so simple. Mindfulness, meditation, you'll be on your way to working through your baggage, asking for the help you need. You know, I've covered a lot of this in my other episodes, so please feel free to go back and review. Because when we're in the present moment and we're really being ourselves, we shine. And other people can see it. And we bring so much positivity and love around with us because we're no longer concerned with these definitions and where we belong, because we know ourselves, the undefinable thing, and we can feel it. And that's a beautiful gift. So get comfortable with being undefinable, because it's actually liberating and amazing, and I want to encourage you all to do it. All right, next week. Thank you for joining me with that. like I said, I've been thinking about this stuff for a long time, really been dissecting my own psyche, other people's, and just so much research and energy spent trying to connect all of the dots that I'm sharing on this channel. So please stay tuned and catch our previous episodes as well. Next week, exploring ego and its many definitions, because we've really strayed from Freud's original ego, and I want to talk about it. And I think it'd be good for you all, because how we define things is really important, or how we undefine things is really important. It goes both ways. So if you like this video, please like and share with your friends and family on social media, or even by email, whatever you'd like. One more reminder, I have the spiritual support group for millennials coming up. It's our first event on October 12th for 18 to 30-year-olds. If you're interested and you like the show, definitely check us out on Meetup. I think you might like what we're about. So more information will be in the description box. I'll put the link there for Meetup. So you can just click that, go to the page. You do have to sign up and be approved, because I want to make sure that the members are appropriate and are in the age group. And that's it. Then you'll be invited to our first event, October 12th. Really love to see you there, especially if you're in the local area and you're watching our show. It'd be really great to meet you in person. And I hope everybody takes care. Have a beautiful weekend.